Oh, I need my other one open as well.
Fade out.
Great.
All right, so we're at the end of dashboard week. Everybody is still alive, so that's a good sign.
Well, if Joe is pissed,
So today's presentations, the team is going to present what they created today, which was based off of Star Wars data, surveys of people around I think just in the U.S., and their opinions of different Star Wars movies and different Star Wars characters. And then after that, they will present their favorite from earlier in dashboard week. So to start us off is Michael.
Yeah.
All right. Let you start now.
All right. Share your screen?
Yeah, I'm on it. Okay, so I spent a lot of time trying to think of ideas that I thought made sense, and that I thought this would be quite an easy one for me because I quite like Star Wars, and I thought I would be able to come up with quite a few things that I could investigate for insights, and everything I came up with came to nothing. So I'm sort of just going to present how that came about, really. So the first thing is that for the most recent episode, episode 7, they've brought in a female lead in Daisy Ridley, and I think part of that was just because she was a good actress, but it was also partly to try and increase the number of female viewers. So I visited that, and turns out that based on this survey data, the number of female viewers was unchanged relative to the other episodes.
Slightly increased, but not much. Right?
Yeah. I then haven't put this into the story mode, but I did the same thing because John Boyega was brought in just to see if that would have any impact on African American viewers, just because, again, because he's a good actor, but could potentially influence that, and okay. I had the same outcome. So then I thought about it, and if you ask anyone that likes Star Wars, they will tell you that the worst episode is episode 2. So I thought I'd have a look into that. So I started by grouping up all of them into the different trilogies and ranking them based on the average score for the most negative votes. So the average score for very unfavourable and somewhat unfavourable, and then ranked them. So Trilogy 2 comes out as the most actively unfavourable, the ones people that will vote for last, essentially.
Most hated.
Yeah, most hated. Then Trilogy 3, just purely based on episode 7 at the moment, because that's what's in the data, and then Trilogy 1. So I then broke it down to individual episodes, and didn't find what I thought I would find, which would be that episode 2 would be the most actively disliked. So again,
episode 1 was pretty bad too, though.
I thought 1 was meant to be considered worse.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3
I
are all
thought that's
terrible.
what the.
Well, then that sort of messes us up a little bit, but
It agrees.
It agrees. But I thought that episode 2 would be seen as the worst, but 1 or 2, they're both bad. We can all agree on that. So I looked at as well another thing that I didn't get in, but it's essentially the same thing, showing the opposite. So for which is least highly ranked for the most positive votes, so people that voted which one they think was favourite. The ones they left out were 1 and 2 again, but that time 2 came out on the top. And then I used more slant graphs. So I've just used loads of slant graphs. So at the moment I've just got these because I use slant charts quite a lot, slope, slant, to investigate data. And the way that I do that is literally just to build out what I think I'll find, and then have a filter on demographics and flick through. So I used that to find out which people actually ranked episode 1 worse than episode 2, and found out that the demographic for that is 55 to 64 year olds living in an urban area. I haven't got that on here, but 55 to 64 year olds living in an urban area whose number one issue is security. They were the 3 demographic areas that would pick episode 2 to be worse than episode 1. Episode 1 to be worse. Yeah, episode 2 to be worse than episode 1. And then I visit out quickly in a bump chart to see if the people that were in that demographic were different to everyone else. And it was pretty similar. So again, didn't really find much. But that is how I came to nothing.
All right.
Wait, how have we split people into weirdos and everyone else?
I realised that, well, it's that demographic, but I realised they're not the weirdos, they're the people that I would assume, well, they are the weirdos, but they're the people I would assume would...
So you use a different word.
Probably, yeah,
right?
probably.
Yeah.
But they're the people from this demographic that would rank 2 better than 1.
I see.
Cool. Good.
Not really.
All right. You want to present your other
Yes,
one?
please.
Hey guys, can we stay off the computers and pay attention to each other, please?
So I'm going to present this one again because...
Well, people on the phone haven't heard it yet. So.
Yeah. So this is my cheese joke dashboard. I've deliberately gone off of my normal formatting guidelines, really. I use similar formatting for everything that I do, but I thought, seeing as it's a bit cheesy and it's a bit different and fun, I guess, I went with that. So this dashboard basically breaks down, for all the cheese jokes that I could scrape from the internet, what cheese they relate to. So we've got the first section here shows what cheese factory, cheese family each of the jokes relate to, whether they relate to vegetarian or non-vegetarian cheeses, or unknown whether they're available for vegetarians, and whether they relate to high-fat, standard fat, and low-fat cheeses. And then
The other cheese.
if you select...
Gouda.
Yeah,
Other cheese, I want to explore beyond that.
well, we can do both. So if you select a type of cheese, then you get a list of jokes related to those cheeses, and then you can select a joke, Andy.
When should you keep an eye on your cheese? That's actually good. That's not too bad.
And then if you go back and you want to look at other cheeses, you can see this, 2 of which are the same. But
Why did the dairy farmer go on a diet? She wanted to cheddar a few pounds. That's really bad.
It's also made worse because the A is there.
Yeah.
Cheddar a few pounds. Cheddar a few pounds.
I would have said cheddar a few pounds.
All right, you want to share your workflow for this then, Michael?
Yeah, can do. If I've got it up still. If not, I'll quickly open it. Star Wars films, cheese. Which one's this one?
You shrink your left-hand side there.
Yeah, I was just checking which one it is because I've got 3 workflows for this. So this is the first one, which will give you, using a list of the cheeses which George produced, using the data, well, scraped it off the website that we were using to get a list of all the cheeses. It then uses those names to pull an, not to pull an API, just to scrape that same website and go through each individual page for the data about those individual cheeses. And that gives you an output which isn't actually available because I haven't run it, and I won't run it now, but basically the information that was shown in my dashboard. And then I also had another workflow which, so I had another workflow where I went on to different cheese joke websites and pulled off the individual cheese jokes. And finally, I had a workflow where I looked in each of the jokes and looked for, using the find and replace tool, anywhere where the family name or the cheese name itself appeared in either the question or the answer of the joke. And then that gave me a list, again, which you can't see because I haven't run it at the moment, but that gives you a list of all the cheeses, and then a joke related to those cheeses.
Why do you have so many find and replace tools?
Because one looks in the name of the cheese to the question of the joke, one looks in the name of the cheese for the answer of the joke, one looks in the family of the cheese for the question, and one in the family of the cheese for the answer. So
you can't do more than one thing in the wise way, right?
not that I'm aware of.
I've not used it. So.
And then I just unioned them all back on, removed duplicates to get rid of jokes that were exactly the same, although there were a couple there that were slightly differently phrased, so they came through. Cool. That gave me
Nice work.
my data.
Good job. Up next is Elliot. Elliot, you've only got 2 to pick from, so
Yep.
that makes it easy for you.
Makes it a little bit easier. All right. For the Star Wars survey data that we were given, we cleaned it, and our task, so the rooms spread between 2 groups, one that looked at characters and the other one looked at the movies themselves. So I wanted to try to see what the patterns between the different movie generations were and how that changed over time. Now, there's a long-standing, I guess, agreement amongst the Star Wars community that the first generation, which is episodes 4, 5, and 6, are more favorably looked upon compared to the rest of the different generations of Star Wars episodes. And so I just wanted to look at how that changed instead of looking between the first and the second, or the first and the third, which would always return that the first generation is better. I want to look at a bit more detail between the second generation and the third generation. So here we can see that in the number tooltips aren't clean. The first generation more favorable. We can see a lot of unfavorable opinions about the second generations, and there's considerably less for the third generation, which includes Rogue One and Episode 7. Now, if we break this down into a bit more detail, we can see that this is, according to different response categories, the difference between the 2 lines that we see in the middle of the graph. So this is the red line is second generation, blue line is third generation, and here we're just looking at the percentage difference between both in terms of number of total responses. So we can see that there's a large decrease in the very, very unfavorable and unfavorable response categories.
I think we ended up using the wrong. Is it difference or is it percent difference?
In this case, it's the percentage difference.
Yeah, so you're doing a percent of a percent?
No. I'm using this is the count. It's the count of responses, and it's the percent difference of the count of responses.
Okay.
And there's an increase in the very favorable opinion. So we can see that actually the third generation is a lot more better received than the second generation, which means that Star Wars have succeeded to a certain extent at rejuvenating, I guess, the series, which had gotten a bit of bad press with the whole second generation of movies.
Yeah.
And lastly, I just built a little exploratory tool on the survey data itself, just to see what were demographics that would influence just people appreciating Star Wars more based on these demographics. So here you can choose any film generation that you like, or all of them at the same time, and different categories. And so through exploring myself, so I'm not going to flick through all the categories, but there's a fair few survey categories. And the most notable one was that for unemployed people are the most likely to have a very favorable opinion of Star Wars. And other noteworthy facts were that...
Is it the same for all generations?
For all generations, well, I mean, we can take more, a lot less for the second generation, and more for the third generation. And the other interesting facts that I found, that men are more likely to appreciate Star Wars than women. 65-year-olds plus are also the most likely across all generations to appreciate Star Wars.
I wonder if that's because they were younger when the first when the first generation came out.
Yeah,
That was their movie.
I think it's slightly. I think we had agreed that it was slightly.
They would have been in their 30s.
They would have been a bit older at the time, but
Yeah, but that was the target market.
still appreciating it.
Kids be able to.
And possibly the most interesting one that I came across was that Donald Trump supporters are more likely to appreciate Star Wars than those of Hillary
So
Clinton.
can you flip to that in the category?
So if we go
Is that
to
political spectrum?
2016 election.
2016 election, yeah. And if we look at
No, not much though.
well, still like 10%, 10% more,
Yeah.
which is quite considerable. So that's my dashboard. Just tries to kind of just break down the server data. Nothing particularly exciting, but I thought it was quite an interesting data set. So
Yeah.
for my second dashboard, I missed the beginning of the dashboard week. So this was my first attempt at a dashboard during dashboard week, and it's a bit stressful. Felt possibly a bit overwhelmed by having to do all this work, but it came together, I think, all right. So the idea behind this dashboard is a cheat sheet, and we're trying to break down by different regions of the world what are the characteristics of cheeses from these different regions of the world. So right now it's selected on Western Europe, but we can.
And Steph's who's gonna walk through this workflow? For this one, David is.
All right. We can choose any region of the world, and we can see right now we're ordering the data by the number of cheeses, but we can also flip to the fat percentage content. But so we can look at which cheeses are most popular within any region, and this is for flavor, but we can flip to just different textures. So what are the most popular textures or aromas and types of cheeses.
It's crazy that there's that many types of cheese.
Well, I think the data amounted to about 1,831 cheeses in total, I think, of different cheeses across the world. Wow. So I think that there's a lot of variety in cheese. And we have, of course, a camembert chart here, which shows of that region the percentage of cheeses which are vegetarian friendly versus not vegetarian friendly. I also attempted to create some dashboard action, which don't work currently, but the idea would be that once we have any category that interests us, so we say we're in North America currently and we're looking at semi-soft cheeses, it should drill down and bring back the list of those cheeses. So for anybody who would be interested in finding out if they have any preference about any cheese, they could be able to drill down and find that information here. But that is not currently working, but I will try to make it work. So yeah, that's my two dashboards for Dashboard Week. And I guess if that's all, I'll pass it along to
All right.
Good job, Jeremy.
When the Star Wars released?
Which one? The first one? 76? Maybe in 78.
Why is the first
76,
generation?
Yeah. Why'd they start at number 4?
Yes.
Because that's what they did.
And is it first like a
So 1, 2, and 3 were considered prequels. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy, and I'm going to talk you through my Star Wars dashboard and one of the dashboards I did earlier in the week. So I decided with about an hour and 10 minutes to go on the Star Wars dashboard, having started designing a fairly dull sort of dashboard looking at political affiliations and Star Wars, I decided over lunchtime that I would try and build some kind of form of top trumps for the Star Wars data. So it is not possible to build a top trumps when you've never done it before in an hour and 10 minutes, but I'll show you what I've got so far. Yeah, it was quite ambitious, but it was quite fun trying anyway. So in order to disguise the slight lack of a completed dashboard, I'm also going to look at my Autorix workflow to prepare the data in the first place. And now I've just blown the disguise by telling you it's disguised. So first of all, the data comes in as an Excel sheet, which we've used an online converter to convert from a PDF. I then take out some nulls and do various things like create rows for the character and fill down on those rows. I filter out some more things I don't need. I then split the data eventually after a lot more filtering and formulae. I then eventually split the data out so that we have the data by the end in a column for each kind of demographic, whether it's age or community or whatever. And the ones that have that demographic have an entry, otherwise they don't, and they'll have the value of the percentage for the people who express that level of favorability with their demographic for different characters in Star Wars. I also joined on a data set of images for each character, which I got from one site on the internet, and joined that to the data as well, so that I had a TDE in Tableau of all the characters, the different favorability ratings from different demographic groups, and images for those characters. So here's what I've got so far, this complete mess with just a big picture of Jar Jar Binks in the middle. So how this is supposed to work, or will work, is that you have a top trump battle based on favorability ratings as a way of exploring the data set a bit more in an interactive way. So you choose which character you want to fight with. Let's choose, I don't know, Count Dooku. I'm not sure to pronounce that. Count Dooku. It's chosen Chewbacca.
Oh, we probably need to change that to a click act. You're right, Jeremy. We need to make that a select action, not a hover. Yeah.
Okay, make sure to do that. And so then you look at the bottom and you see it's currently only split by the ratings amongst everyone. You then choose which rating you reckon you'll be able to compete with best. Not heard of, seems quite a good option here. Pick a number and eventually you get a random one, but right now you get one character to compete with, in this case Yoda, and then we click on the Yoda, and only 8% have not heard of Yoda, so you've won that battle. So that's how it will work. You can kind of see now sort of the structure of it and how it will eventually work, but it needs an awful lot of work still left on it.
It might be good to have like numbers in there so they know the order of things to choose.
Yes,
Yeah,
that would
like
be very
the
good.
number symbols or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. It's a neat idea though.
Yeah, that's cool.
It'll be a good way of exploring other data sets as well in the end.
Yeah.
Once it actually works.
Top trumps everything.
Yeah. All my dashboards are now being top tropes. So let's look at one from earlier in the week. Let's do, because we haven't looked at this data set yet, let's have a look at the looks versus personality data set we had earlier in the week. So I did, the task was to do story points for this, to find some story within the data on different nationalities and genders, saying what characteristics they found most important in a romantic partner. So my story, very briefly, is really looking at Denmark, because Denmark shows an interesting trend here. They show the same trend as the data in general, but much more exaggerated. So here, this first slide is showing us is, if I make it bigger, it is showing us what characteristic Danish men said was the most important in a partner. And 68% said they have a personality I like, and nobody said, or no percent said, making a decent amount of money. And this is the trend you saw across the data set, but not quite so exaggerated. So to kind of show how exaggerated this was, I grouped up all the ratings to a single score, so that if they said they have a personality I like first, that was given 6 points. If they said personality second, that was given 5 points, and so on. And multiplied each of those scores by the percentage of people who said that option, and then added that all together to get a single score for each option. So that I could have one score I could rank all the countries on. And if you look at it in that way, Denmark is first in terms of score for they have a personality I like, and second for sense of humour. For women, it's the other way around on those first two, but it's the same kind of trend. And 20th for they're good looking, and 20th for making a decent amount of money. Again, it's this really exacerbated trend within the whole data set. And on top of that, I then looked at another data set, which showed something rather similar. But I thought it was quite interesting to add this data to show that there seems to be something that pertains to Denmark across multiple data sets and the same sort of theme. So another data set, people from nearly all the same countries were asked, what single thing do you want most in life out of a list of options? And again, show the percentage of people who'd given each option. In this case, Danes were very likely to say love as their first option, at 26%, when most countries said better health as their main option. Danes were far more likely to say love, and that was really quite surprising. It's interesting that power is bottom there as well. We've got the same kind of money is surprisingly high here, but you still have that same sort of trend that you kind of saw on the previous data.
Money's by family as well, for the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and again, I showed out of all the countries in the survey, who was given the highest percentage to different options. And again, you see that the Danes are saying love my own family. They are the most likely to put that as the big thing for them. Whereas money and better health are the least likely to put that as the biggest thing in life. So again, you've got a similar kind of quite idealistic outlook on the world, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about how we wonder how much the social programs they have factor into that, right? There's a lot of wealth distribution, and
yeah, you bet that's a
the
big
health
thing.
the healthcare service is amazing. So it could be where they take those things for granted. You know,
This is true.
they already have great health, right? They've got great genes to breed new Danes
Yeah.
that are healthier than so.
It's intriguing actually on the survey that Germany was the most likely to say better health, which surprised me, and I think the French were the most likely to say money, which also surprised me. So it was quite a surprising survey.
For me.
Yeah.
All right, good job. Well done.
There's a comment on here. Go Germany. Go Germany. Marcus says go Germany. Who's next?
We'll try to stop it and share it again.
The connection went down.
We're going through the website.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just got a bad delay.
I haven't got it yet.
Let me make myself presenter, and then I'll switch it back to you. Try it again. Bad delay. Why don't you sign out and sign back in, and then we can switch back to you later. Okay, so we'll skip and come back to you. Who's next? Charlie?
Oh no, I remember I didn't do it now last time. Yeah.
Do we need to skip you as well?
No.
It looks like Johnny Walker's on the line too.
Yeah.
You guys remember meeting him the other day?
There are a few people on there.
Yeah.
Charlie,
Yeah.
you're up today. Make me take that hat off.
It's not the problem. Can you invite me to be presenter again? Sorry, I had to switch from the app to the browser because that.
Okay. There you go. You'd think we'd done this before, wouldn't you?
So I'm gonna start off with my viz about global partnership preferences, starting at the beginning. So for this, we're looking at differences similar to what Jeremy was just talking about. Similar to what Jeremy was just talking about, we're looking at how I was looking at how preferences vary between genders throughout the different countries of the world. So this first chart shows that personality is the clear preference across all countries when you aggregate the data regardless of gender. But if you split the data up by gender and compare the value that men assign to different characteristics compared to the value that women assign to different characteristics, men strongly favour looks relative to women across all countries in the data set.
And women favor money?
Yes.
More than men, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a comparison, right.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is relative, so it's not it's not an absolute
It's a bit
measure.
more spread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, it's just looking at those same metrics but split up by country to try and show the variation between countries within each metric characteristic. So this is now ordered from the top, where characteristics are most favoured by women, to the bottom of the chart where they're most favoured by men. So you can see that the amount of money is the characteristic that's most strongly skewed towards female preferences relative to the other gender, and good looks, obviously, for the previous chart, comes out strongly skewed towards
That's really interesting.
male.
It's a neat looking chart.
Yeah, thanks.
And then intelligence looks like it's almost split 50-50.
Yeah. Intelligence has the greatest parity in terms of.
Cool, nice work.
Yeah, in terms of the different.
Make sure you get all your dashboards this week published up to tell the public as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So today's dashboards, we had to do with the Star Wars data set. I'm not a Star Wars fan, so.
You got to make that interview question from now on.
Along with the Arsenal question.
Yeah. Are you a Spurs fan?
So I was a little bit stumped to start with about what to do with the data set, and at some point decided that the only thing that I really knew about Star Wars was based on other forms of media where they so frequently reference how terrible the Phantom Menace is and how could anybody like it. So I thought, who is the most likely to hate the Phantom Menace? And this chart just shows you who those people are for each demographic. So each different row in the data in the chart is a different demographic. So the top one is education, the second one is the number one kind of voting issue, and then the US region.
So you're labeling just the top one in each
Yes,
category.
so in each one
That's
it
cool.
just labels the top. I would have liked if I could left align them all so that they did lined up neatly down the left hand side of the chart, but I tried every option in the labeling pane and they didn't change
you
at
have
all.
to use like a Gantt chart to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did do that.
That's okay. I think it looks fine the way it is.
Oh.
Especially because you've got two in some places. So
Yeah.
if you had them left aligned, it wouldn't look right.
I would have liked to.
correct.
I would have liked to see and compare.
Yeah.
I also added a little URL action so that you can go through to the cracking Star Wars jokes website that I was telling you all about before.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Well done. Next, you want to go back to Georgia? Are you back in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So for today's dashboard, so since I never watched Star Wars and I didn't know anything about Star Wars, I decided to look at the people like me who have no idea about Star Wars and their characters. So I'm in the group that I was supposed to analyze the characters rather than the episodes. So on the left side there are the least known characters, and in the sorted by the ranking of known from the least to the most known.
Okay.
And then there are the most known characters. Generally, people are over 65, so I'm not excused. Women and Jewish are the one that know that it's not moving the screen. I don't know why.
Oh, must have lost your connection again. Just talk through it. Yeah.
Okay. Are the one that are on the list. But interesting is that if you click on Luke Skywalker, it looks like women know better about him. Then, well, it's a 50-50, but they know more about him. And it looks like older people knows better both Luke Skywalker and the bad guy here.
The ultimate bad guy.
The ultimate
Darth
bad
Vader.
guy. And if you click on one of the characters, you can see it's highlighted with the color of the dark or light side. So if they are bad or good characters.
That's really neat. That's nice. It's really good.
And this is my first dashboard. And for my second dashboard, I wanted to share the one from the first day, which is not my favorite in terms of layout and stuff, but it's the one that I've spent the longest time doing, and it's the first one, and I just want to share my pain with everyone. I finished designing this at 10, so it was a very long 10 p.m.
Oh.
So it was a very long day for me, at least. It was the American Household Survey, and it was a very long survey data about American household. I've decided to concentrate on the problems that the households are facing, and I've picked the food security, the housing problem, and the problem of the neighbor. And on the top, there is filter tool when you can select the different races or the education level and see how much it changes among the different races. So Asian people are the ones that have the least problem, followed by the white people. But not that much. But in the neighborhood, it seems like they live in a better neighborhood anyway. And for the educational level, the less is the educational level, and the worse, the more are the problems that they face.
Yeah, but that would make sense.
Yeah. And it's my
This is nice. This looks like it could be printed in a magazine or something, the way you laid it out.
Yeah.
It's nice. It looks like something that Caroline might have showed you guys on, in the.
Yeah, I used Caroline's advice a lot in this one because we had a lot of data, and I was very confused about what to focus on.
Yeah.
But it was.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Good job. Well done. Are you presenting a workflow?
I can do a workflow for my second one.
Okay.
Can I? Maybe. Just going to. Right.
last name wrong. Alright. That's my intro. So yeah, I had the character data from the survey, so I just sort of have done basically most of my time with the first thing. No, I just kind of had a little look and see who is the most popular characters and who's the least popular characters. So you can see here that Princess Leia is our favourite character in general. So this is kind of like I sort of scored the favourability scores like 1 to 4, 4 being the most favourable, and times that by the number of people who scored it. So this is kind of like an overall single score. So you can see that Princess Leia is our favourite character, and in general, it's the good guys from the first couple of movies who people like most, because I guess they know them and they're the most popular. People hate Jar Jar. So this is the percent very unfavourable. So the only people who are more hated than Jar Jar are Darth Vader. How can Darth Vader be hated?
Because he's evil.
It doesn't matter. He's a great character.
I know, he's a great character. And Jabba the Hutt, who is evil. Yoda, the least disliked.
How could anybody not like Yoda?
And R2-D2 is everyone's favourite droid. BB-8, I guess probably just not well known.
Yeah.
It's probably more likely.
But a 2 would be average, right, in this case? Is it a 1 to 4 scale?
Yeah, 1 to 4.
Yeah, so he's below average then.
Yeah.
1.5.
So yeah, that's my Star Wars thing. And I'm going to show my... I don't think I'm going to show it actually. So this is the survey data about romantic partnerships, again, as Jeremy and Charlie have shown. So I chose sort of like very much sort of storyboard and walk through the survey, and also have some interactivity with sort of the wider users. So YouGov sampled 20 countries around the world. These are highlighted here. They asked them about their romantic preferences. So if you're interested and you want to join in on this little survey, I've created a little Google form on the right, and you can rank your own preferences in terms of their personality, like good looking, still interested, intelligent, sense of humour, and amount of money they make. I had a little look at the sort of how they rank themselves. As we've seen already, they have a personality alike. It's very much most commonly ranked number 1 by about sort of over 45% of people. Equally, they have a decent amount of money, is ranked last by the vast majority of people as well. What's this thing? I can't remember my story now. Yes. So that I've created a bump chart as well, so you can see sort of the change in rank in terms of, you can see that nearly no one is putting they have a good personality towards the end. I then decided to compare the differences between men and women. So for both genders, personality is the most important thing. It's most likely to be ranked first. But men, as we've seen from Charlie's viz, are more likely to value good looks than women. So for women, it's the 4th most important thing, whereas for men, it's the 2nd most important thing. And women, as we also saw in Charlie's viz, probably showed a bit better actually, I think. Women are slightly more likely to value money more than men. And you can see on the right that men are about twice as likely to value looks over personality than women. And finally, we can have a look at the survey data coming back from the general population. So this links to a Google sheet, which is obviously the form. And you can see that in general, the pattern is the same for the general population as it is for the survey respondents. So you can see that most people have the ranking
They have personality I like first, and most people are ranking. They make a decent amount of money last. The one sort of exception is not exception, but different so far is they have a sense of humour is the second highest, which I think is not true in the overall data. So yeah, that is my.
Can you switch that to a bump chart as well?
Yes, I can. It looks a bit weird though because we haven't got enough data at the moment, so.
I think your scale's upside down on this one as well.
It could well be. Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, so that is my two presentations.
I'm going to show the workflow for
Yeah,
the
I'll show the workflow for this. I can't remember quite why I did this.
So long ago.
Yeah, it was. There's a lot gone on this week.
3 weeks ago.
Okay, so yes. So this was we had PDF data again for this, and he's loving giving us PDFs this week, and so I found an online converter to convert into Excel, and then tied up a little bit in Excel. So we had a nice wide file that we could start working with in Ultrix. So I brought it in and got it to nulls, gave things a record ID. Just basically cleaned up, clean. Pivot, a little bit more cleaning, join, clean, output.
So you're saying it was dirty?
It was dirty.
Yeah.
It was dirty until it was clean, and now it's nice and clean. So yes.
No real complicated cleaning stuff though. Maybe the regex, but that's not. I mean,
it's not that stuff.
It's not that complicated, but it's not a standard tool that people use. I would say, it's not.
Yeah, I think we're very much enjoying the use of regex.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's very flexible.
Yeah. So yeah.
This was not time consuming at all.
This. Well, I don't think this one wasn't particularly. Wasn't this one the quickest to clean? We got to visiting this one the fastest, didn't we?
No, the cheese one was done quickest.
No.
Today's was probably. I got this bang on 11.
PM?
That's when Andy said we had to do it done by.
Yeah, exactly. This was definitely the fastest. Anyway, it wasn't super tough, but it was.
All right. Well done, George.
Yeah,
Good
job.
All right, David.
You're right there. So I thought I had a really nice idea, but I thought that George
So your idea?
kind of. This is
So no sound?
no, this is not sound. This is only video.
So to forget.
And what I'm looking at here is the pool of the dark side. On the top left corner, the video is giving you the instructions of what is displaying around.
You forgot.
And using this survey, I'm trying to have a look at the change in political, at the shift in political trends in the US. Particularly, we have the different characters in Star Wars, like Emperor Palpatine, or Kondoku, Padme, and so on. And we have a view on the left of how the voters, the voters
oh my God, so good.
that approve of the character, how likely are they to change the vote, or how have they changed the vote between 2012 voting for Obama and 2016 voting for
Trump,
the dark side. And that's on the left side. On the right side is those who disapprove of that character, how likely are they to do that? And so we can see that those that favor Emperor Palpatine are more likely to have changed the vote towards Trump.
Oh.
And those that disapprove on the bottom here, those that disapprove of Emperor Palpatine are more likely to have changed the vote to Obama or maintain, or to Obama to they didn't vote for Trump later. And what I find I'm not surprised about Emperor Palpatine and Count Dooku. That's kind of, they go with the theme. But I was surprised at finding Padme and Amidala here also as kind of a force of the light. I mean, it's not behaving like that in the population.
Anakin's mom. No, not mom.
Yeah.
She's name.
Yeah.
No,
Anakin's
wife.
No.
Anakin's wife.
Luke's mom.
Luke's mom.
Luke's mom. And yeah.
Interesting.
What took me the most was actually creating the video. So you do that. And
Is anybody going to share the workflow for this one?
Jeremy went through it briefly. I can show it off.
Okay.
for my second visualization, I'm going with this one. This was not my favorite. I really hated this day because I struggled to find ideas. But I think in the end, this was the dashboard which I learned the most about different actions. So we were looking at the survey data for romantic partners, and here I'm building a tool that allows you to decide which country should you go to find your love based on how you are. So which country is going to be more likely that you can find someone that is interested in you. And so you start answering what gender are you interested in, men, female, either, so with either. And oh no, not this one. I opened the wrong one. 1 second. This was my test where I was uploading the results on our server.
You know, I think you're the first person I've ever seen open a workbook that way from Total Public.
I didn't know it was possible. Yeah.
It's irresponsible, is that what you
I
said?
didn't know it was possible.
Oh,
Irresponsible, David. How dare you?
So let's pretend that didn't happen, and now we go again, open, select our gender, interest, and now is the point of the story of this dashboard. Andy wanted us to create a story. I couldn't bring myself to find a story, so I decided to add some elements that could distract him from realizing that this was not a story. I failed at that, but then I learned how to import to introduce in the dashboard, which is also a nice thing to do. And now you rank your characteristics. You say, what do you? How are you? You have a
this
very.
is telling us a lot about you, David. British, yeah, British. Oh.
No, right now you're introducing your characteristics, and it's giving you a preview of.
British have the best sense of humor.
No, they value.
They value.
Oh, values.
They value.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're getting.
That's true.
You're intelligent Indonesian people value that, and then whatever you want to score to weight more some of your characteristics, so you input it again, and you continue. You have whatever you want, and then you go to the next page. And this is interesting because it looks like a story only with different colors, but this is actually that's where action. And they don't. This is something I learned from.
It take them more time to do this than
And something this is which I learned from Emily, and I think Michael also have done this before, is that they are buttons, right? But they don't remain selected when you click them. So that's something I didn't know how to do before. Anyway, now you know this purple is giving you the answer for British men or British women. If you selected only one gender, you would have only one answer. And how other potential places you would like to go, how they are ranked. Then it gives the breakdown of the selected nationality, how they actually value everything. And then just the next day, I decided, oh yeah, I can actually bring the stories here. And so here is a story where now I'm looking just at British people, British nationals. Well, first an overview, and then looking at British nationals, how they don't care about looks. They are within Europe, which is this region. All this is Europe. Europe is a region that values good looks the least. And
Except
British,
for French.
Europe, French is in Europe, yeah. And so French people value more than the average of Europeans, but it may be less than other nationalities. And British don't really care about intelligence either, not our personality. The other thing they care is about the sense of humor, and that also is a lot of is telling about the country. But, entertainment is okay,
Soap operas, football.
and they are not really interested in money. So yeah, and I like this not because I really enjoy the working with that, but because now in the end this is actually 3 dashboards, and I didn't know that you could do it. So now I have actions that don't remain selected, and URL actions, which was more than I expected to get from.
Great. So, David, I've got a joke for you while we're. What is H2O4?
H2O4.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a drink.
Okay.
You got to read it.
Yeah.
All right. Did you want to show the workflow?
Sure. We were downloading the cheese information, and we noticed that there was a landing page on the cheese side that had this structure inside, so we could get different values and navigate through those values using a workflow that I'm showing here, using that I showed as an input, cleaning and preparing, going through a batch macro. That batch macro would use that letter to process another command and get something similar to this, a list with different pages. Each page has a structure like this one inside, and then from this we can get the different cheeses that is going from the batch macro, launches the iterative macro, and the iterative macro will process it. So it's basically having a root folder and then going through all the subfolders. Only instead of subfolders, here we have different websites.
That's really clever.
Then we're just cleaning and cleaning and
cleaning
some more.
Really nice. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting how you pulled all that stuff together into one.
Cool. Nice work. All right. And well done, David. And last, because presentations are sorted by attitude today.
Hey.
You're not even in there.
I am.
You are? Not?
I am.
Nope.
Where it says Steph.
I don't see Steph on here.
I'm looking at it now. Oh yeah.
I don't see
You're
Steph
on
today.
this, but not ours.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, maybe you need to close and open it back up.
Maybe tell another joke while we wait.
Oh, where's the book? David, tell a joke. Pick one.
Why did King Arthur jump up and down and ask for a tin opener?
A tin opener?
I don't know.
I don't know.
He had ants in his armor.
Ants in his armor.
Why is this a joke?
Because in the picture he's wearing armor.
You need to
So it's like a tin opener.
Marcus, you would love the new book that I bought, Marcus.
Why is this a joke?
Good question.
I agree with you on that.
All right, we ready? Marcus, there's I bought a book of 500 pages worth of jokes, so you'd like it. I can see you smiling through the GoToMeeting.
So first one I'm going to present is yesterday's. Not because it was my favourite, because it was my least favourite. So I found yesterday the hardest because I couldn't find, or I felt like I couldn't find anything interesting in the data, and the data wasn't structured in a way that I could explore the kind of things I wanted to explore.
It sounds like word for word what you said when we met over in M5 for
really?
the one client presentations, remember? And the group of us met in there?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's a theme. Not feeling inspired. So I did manage to find something in the end, and this is what it is. So I focused on what your options are as a veggie in terms of cheese. So I excluded any cheeses that didn't say whether they were or weren't veggie. 44% of the cheeses were veggie friendly, and got that broken down by a few different things. So each bar is a different section of category. So the cottage cheese family, about 77% of those cheeses are veggie friendly. When you click on it, it highlights what countries you can get cottage cheeses in and what texture you'd expect that to be.
And a list of the cheeses.
And a list of those cheeses, yeah. So it's not completely working either. So sometimes, like, you click on some things and the list doesn't appear here always, but it does sometimes. Also, I wanted to be able to click on different things in different
multi-select.
Yeah, multi-select, and that I couldn't get that working for some reason.
Yeah.
So it's technically it's still
work in progress.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Charlie didn't show her cheese one. That wasn't your favorite. The blue one about the Yarra Valley.
Well, I liked it.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah. So this is my cheese one. You can also swap to. So at the moment it's got it's sorted by the highest percentage of veggie-friendly cheeses, but you can swap it to where you should avoid as a veggie instead. And I haven't cleaned all of these up.
I didn't even say that first one.
Which one? Gruyere?
The family. How do you say it?
Gruyere? I don't know. I'm sure Elliot will be able to tell.
Gruyere.
There you go. Like that. Yeah, so that's that's my
All right, good.
and then
your workflow first for the next one.
Yeah. So this is the workflow for today's. So it was a PDF again. So Jeremy put it through a converter and sent an Excel round to us all. So what I did to that Excel was take out any questions in the survey that weren't related to Star Wars movies, because that's the focus we had. So then...
Because you took out the first thing you do is take all the character stuff out.
Yeah, I took out all the characters and all the other questions about social media, because it was quite a big survey. So
oh, right. So when you brought in every page.
Yeah.
Yep. All 268 pages. Yep. Wow.
So I took them out of the Excel to start with.
Good plan.
And then, so it's basically a lot of cleaning. So it came through with the movies and other stuff in the demographic column. So I took that stuff out.
So did you have to shift rows over and things like that?
So each section, there was a list of demographics for each movie,
right.
And each list of demographics was then repeated for the next movie. And instead of there being a column with the films, it was in the demographic column.
Okay.
So that's what the where's the multi? Oh, on
it. The lady never tweeted me back either.
Oh, really? Or I did it without us. So that's what this multi-row was doing. So should be able to run it. So it is looking at the demographic column, and whenever there is a movie name in this demographic column, it will put that in a new column, and whenever there isn't, it will take the row before in the new column.
Right.
So it will basically paste the film in one column.
Yep.
And then, did some more cleaning, did some transposing. So here we've got a percentage and a count for each, like favourable, unfavourable, etc. So we wanted to split those out and have a column for each. So we did a bit of regex to split those out, and then ended, I'll go to here, with a column for percentage, column for count, and a column for the total number of people that answered.
Okay.
That's the workflow. And then this is what I produced. So I focused on people who considered the movies unfavourable. Like some of the others have presented already, Phantom of the Menace had the highest percentage of people considering it unfavourable, not liking it. So that's the chart on the left. So these are in order of release films. And then the chart on the right breaks it out into each kind of demographic category, and then underneath that as well. So when it's red, that is when more people dislike the films than the average for that film.
Right.
You
so
can
the more
see,
red bars, the more that kind of corresponds with the length of the bar on the left-hand side.
Yes. Yeah. So these people really hate Rogue One compared to the average for Rogue One. The average of like proportion of people that don't like Rogue One.
Medicare, Social Security, that'd be old people.
Yeah. So that's for overall. What I would have liked to do, so it's highlighting for those people across the film, so you can see these people don't generally like Star Wars. But what I wanted to be able to do was when you click on it to limit it to that demographic category, which you can do up here, but it just would have been nice to do with a dashboard action or something, if that's possible.
So you can do a dashboard action on that field. You said specifically to that field?
I tried that and it didn't work, but I don't.
Okay.
I've got the filter on, so it doesn't matter too much, but
Right.
it would have been nice
Sure.
to have. Yeah. So that's Star Wars one.
I really like the chart on the right. It looks really good. I think it'll be
Yeah.
like that.
When you change the demographic parent, does it change the left-hand side as well?
No, it doesn't. I considered doing that.
Just now, or?
No, earlier.
Okay. Yeah.
But I thought that you kind of get an idea anyway. I didn't think it was.
Okay, just curious.
Well, because I wanted to. Yeah, I didn't do that.
All right, good job. Well done. I'll go last because you guys always accuse me of not doing anything. So I'm going to go. I'll pick my two favorite business this week. I did 5 as well, so the hell with all of you.
You just make yourself presenter.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Marcus has managed to get a Star Wars cheese joke.
You got it. Okay. All right, so my two favorite ones this week. So there was a special election in Alabama on Tuesday between Doug Jones, who's the Democrat, and Roy Moore, who's the accused pedophile that was running on the Republican Party. So what I was most interested in was the difference between how counties shifted between the presidential election and the special election, because I was just hearing things on the radio, I'm reading articles, so I was like, oh, why don't I just go get the data? So Wikipedia had the data for the
the breakout by county for the presidential election, and I got the data for the special election from the New York Times and just put them together in one spreadsheet. So what I find particularly interesting on the left-hand side is the corridor that goes straight through the middle of Alabama that's traditionally Democratic, and it looks like for the special election, it just kind of spread from there. It didn't. So the far north, you got one county that switched, but in general, it's still primarily Republican. And when you hover over, it'll highlight the county and give you, kind of the difference and everything like that. And if the counties on the right-hand side are the counties that shifted from Republican in 2016 to Democrat in the special election. And this was based on feedback from Ben Jones and from Johnny Walker. So Ben drew it on the board for me up there, and then it was a matter of figuring out how to actually implement it. So I wrote a blog post on where I figured out, so Ben Jones had written a blog post on how to do the shapes properly, because if you just use a regular triangle, it actually gets drawn in the middle of the triangle. So you have to kind of take it. I drew a triangle in PowerPoint and then duplicate the size of it as a blank, so that the end point is in the middle.
Okay.
And then I got little dots on the ends of the line. And the line that goes left to right, if I make it go all the way to the point on the end, you can kind of see it sticking out. So I just offset it by like 10%. So it's actually, the line doesn't go to the end of the arrow. It kind of stops short of it, so it's in the fat part of the arrow. So that took a little bit of playing around with once I got it into the dashboard to make it look just right. But that's the first time I've ever built a chart like that, so that was pretty fun.
Are Democrats usually east or west? Or is there like a stronger for Democrats on the east or
coastal? It's usually New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and California would be the three strongest. So that's the first one. And then the second one, let me see if I can't tell what my zoom is there. It's 110. Okay. So my second one, so yesterday or the other day, Eva had asked on Convo about creating a help desk. She asked if there were any examples. So I searched Google and I searched Tableau Public and didn't find anything that was even half decent. Even the vendors themselves have terrible dashboards. But looking at the vendor dashboards, I kind of got an idea for what metrics were generally in most of the dashboards. So I found a sample data set on IBM's website of 100,000 support desk tickets. It didn't have a date in it for some reason. I don't know how a support desk cannot have a date, but it did have a column for how long the ticket was open or how long it took to close the ticket. So I just added a column and just did a random between function in Excel between January 1st of 2014 and December 31st of 2016. And then added the close date or the number of days to close to that to get me a close date. And then I randomly deleted some of those close dates to make it look like the tickets weren't closed. So that way I could have some closed tickets and some open tickets. So it didn't take very long, but so this is what I created for that. And let me put it in. I don't think I can put it in full screen because Tableau Public doesn't scroll in full screen. I like the idea of kind of cards for KPI dashboards. So I created one for a profit and loss statement earlier this year that looks almost exactly like this. So I just kind of went with that theme, looking at kind of the primary metrics. And then everything is last 90 days versus previous 90 days. So it's all just done with level of detail calculations. And, all my tooltips have the numbers and the arrows and all that kind of stuff. So it took, actually what takes the most time is creating the dashboard because it has, or creating these tiles because each one of these tiles is, the top chart is is one thing, and that's so the border you see is a container, and then there's a container inside the container, and part of it has this top chart, and then you have another container down here that puts these side by side. So it's kind of a royal pain in the ass. But I love containers, because it makes it so I can lay them out perfectly. And then, so I've got things about just general, starting with just the volume to get an understanding of that, and then breaking that down by the major and critical tickets. And this was based on feedback from one of our customers. And then just looking at the change in open tickets from the start of the period to the end of the period. So over this 90 days, there was an increase in 89 tickets that are still open. So that's not good. You would hope your tickets would be going down. What were tickets filed against, the priorities, how long were tickets open,
And then this down here is just how many are open for less than 5 days. And then just looking at issues versus requests, customer satisfaction on the survey, and then the time of day that the tickets come in, which probably isn't very accurate, but it's just a way to show it. So this was to be used as a template. And then there's a mobile version of it too. So I've got this little add-in. So this should help me see it as a mobile view, hopefully. If it loads.
There's a joke while that loads from Johnny Walker.
Oh, there's a joke from Johnny.
Yeah.
Okay.
What mobile network do Jedis use?
Yodaphone. Ha ha. Good one, Johnny. Good one, Johnny. Well done. Well done. Okay. So eventually this will load. Eventually it'll load. Do we have another joke in the meantime?
Yeah, the Marcus one. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, the Marcus one. I didn't see Marcus's joke. Marcus, what's your joke? What bounty? Wait, I just skipped it, didn't I? What bounty hunter gets paid in cheese? Boba Fetta. That's not funny, Marcus.
It's pretty good. That's quite clever. Star Wars and cheese.
Okay, so I don't know why this isn't. I don't know why this isn't loading. So why don't I just pull it up in desktop? That'd be easier.
You can, actually, isn't that?
What's that?
In the developer console, you can make it mobile size.
Yeah, but that's why I have that add-in, because the developer one, you still have all that crap at the bottom. So I could just go to device preview, stick it on full screen. So all I did was take the cards and just lay them out in a long vertical form, so you could just kind of scroll through all of the metrics that way. So it looks really nice on a phone. And then the other thing that I wanted to look at was when are tickets open. So I created a marginal histogram. We all love our marginal histograms. I only put this weekly ticket volume here thing there because I had space. I wanted something in that kind of white space up there. So Charlie said to put that there. But I guess when I did the random data, it put everything in Mondays for some reason. So that's not very random. But anyway, this is all just to serve as a template for our customers. And actually, the phone version is better for this one. So the phone version just has the volume and then the frequency. So I think actually the phone version is much better in this case. So, but this is going to, the customers are going to take this, replace the data I have with their data, and then they should be done. So it should serve as a good template for them. So I think that's it for Dashboard Week. Well done, everybody. Kudos to you guys. You made it through. And now it's time for Secret Santa. Time for Secret Santa. So we're going to sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. And next week we have a client project for Battersea dogs and cats and dogs, or dogs and cats? Cats and dogs. And so we will not be doing any broadcast of those presentations. So, but thank you for joining, and have a good day. Bye.